Well, folks, the Democrat Party civil war has officially begun. This started with Democrat Vice Chair David Hogg announcing that his organization will be spending upwards of $20 million to oust incumbent Democrat members of Congress in the primary elections in the 2026 midterms. Now, David Hogg has come out and said that he will specifically be targeting members of Congress that he deems ineffective, something that could end with him either being ousted from the leadership or something that could usher in the next generation of Democrat leaders. Now, David Hogg, we all know, jumped onto the political scene, came into the political scene as a survivor of the 2018 school shooting in Parkland, Florida, and really has been an outspoken critic of the Second Amendment and a true believer that the United States should have the most strictest gun laws in the world. Our gun laws that we have on the books should be the strictest that we have in the world. Now, David Hogg's organization, Leaders We Deserve, which he co-founded in 2023, states that it aims to elect younger progressive candidates. And they said in the 2026 midterms, they will be spending upwards of $20 million in safe blue seats in an effort to oust Democrat Party leadership and elect younger leaders that specifically have different approaches to governing and their approach to the Trump administration and how they combat that. The big portion of it is just how they vocally combat the administration. Vocally, how hard are they coming out in opposition to the Trump administration? Which, this is a very, very controversial move from a national party leader. It's like he is the vice chair, one of the vice chairs of the Democrat Party. Like one of the two main political organizations in America. You have the vice chair of the party coming out and saying that they're going to challenge incumbent members of Congress in their own party in safe blue seats. And it has 100% enraged party leaders who still want to defend those incumbent Democrats. And historically, the party has focused most of their resources on fighting Republicans, not members inside of their own party. So now you will have bodies in the Democrat Party fighting against each other. You'll have two different bodies of the Democrat Party fighting against each other. You'll have David Hogg's Political Action Committee, Leaders of the Future, or Leaders We Deserve, that will be spending money to oust Democrats in safe districts, while the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee will be spending millions on protecting those same candidates. So not only are you raising money over here for Leaders We Deserve and for the DCCC, that money is now going to be fighting against each other, which is absolutely ridiculous. It really is. It's like I'm all about it. As someone who leans to the right, hey, that's great. If I were a Democrat, I'd be enraged at something like this right now. But I guess there are some Democrats who like that want to usher in this next generation. But let's take a listen over to David Hogg right now. On CNN. Let's take a listen.
People that you think deserve the Democrats to focus on them in their safe seats, $20 million worth.
Well, in particular right now, what we're hoping with this effort is by announcing this, we can get a lot of them to decide not to run for office again so that this isn't necessary.
Give me one name.
Well, I have to wait to see who retires out there because we don't want to pick unnecessary fights. But we're willing to do that if our approval rating continues to be at this rate, not to mention the fact, yes, we're planning on spending millions of dollars to ensure that we're getting Democrats that are simply, this is not a thing that is just about age. To be clear, there are older people who suck, as we just saw, and there are younger people who suck as well, and people of all ages. Unfortunately, that is not specific to age. We are here to find the most effective young people in our country, truly generational leaders, and replace people that are failing to meet the moment right now that we hope step aside. And in addition to that, we want our frontline candidates to win. Just yesterday, we gave the DCCC $100,000 as one of their biggest contributors this cycle. And that's because we're not just talking about challenging Democrats in safer seats. We want to support young people that are running in our frontline seats as well to get us into the majority in the first place.
It's like you heard it all right there from David on CNN right here. Now, let's listen. And here's a little more. I think this interview that he did with Jen Psaki, I think it adds a lot of context to what extent he's willing to go to here.
Bylaws. No. It is something that has...
And other vice chairs have been involved in primaries before.
Yeah, it's something, though, that has angered traditional DNC members.
Mm-hmm. Some of them.
Some of them. I don't want to overstate. Mm-hmm. But how do you think, are you ready to put that at risk? I mean, if they said you can't do this, are you going to still...
This is a break the glass moment.
So meaning if they tell you you can't do this, you're going to leave your vice chair job?
Ultimately, if they decide to remove me, I have no control over that. I'm going to do everything in my... I got elected to this position to fight to win back our young people and make sure that across the board with every single demographic pretty much except the elderly and the highly educated, we lost margins this past election cycle. This is a major crisis for our party right now, and it needs to be met with the ferocity it deserves so that we're able to win back those young people, win back the margins that we lost with a lot of those demographics. And that's not going to happen with the traditional tactics of just standing by and acting like, oh, you know, let's just play our turn and let's just hope if we put $200 million behind these frontline candidates that we're just all of a sudden going to get winning again. We need bold tactics in this moment. Our base knows it, and I will tell you.
Which, you know, he's not wrong. It's like, you see, he's leaning into the same sort of energy that AOC is leaning into. But we know more established Democrats are taking a lot of issue with this. They're taking a lot of issue with his idea to spend Democrat money to challenge what he deems ineffective Democrats. Take a listen.
To run against other Democrats. He's being paid to run against other Democrats. I think it's an outrage. I don't know if I have standing, but I might give the DNC $10 and sue him. He's a contemptible little twerp, if you ask me.
The well-known Democratic strategist James Carville said in response to this announcement of this plan that you have to primary Democrats, he said that the DNC should sue you and called you, quote, a contemptible little twerp. What is your reaction to that?
Try it. That is my reaction. I would also say James Carville has not won an election since before I was born. I think it's time to have new leaders in our party that are ready to meet this moment, because a lot of the people that are most critical of this...
You heard him. You heard there. They think he's just a little twerp. That's honestly what they think he is. And let's listen. There's one more that we want to listen to.
Joining us on the roundtable, and he is pursuing the... David Hogg, who I know you know, a vice chair of the Democratic National Committee, he's going to be joining us on the roundtable, and he is pursuing this effort to unseat some Democrats in safe seats through primary challenges. He's talked about a culture of seniority politics that is not working for the party. He said, quote, "We need a better Democratic Party and need to get rid of the Democrats in safe seats who do not understand what is at stake now, who are asleep at the wheel, not meeting the moment, and are a liability now into the future of our party." What's your response to this idea of targeting some of your Democratic incumbents?
Well, I look forward to standing behind every single Democratic incumbent, from the most progressive to the most centrist and all points in between. They're working hard in their communities, rising to the occasion. This past week, we had, of course, a Medicaid Matters Day of Action, a Safe Social Security Day of Action, and we have to continue to do all of the things. Rallies, town hall meetings in Democratic districts,
You heard it. He is not going to back down. We know that Hakeem, Jeffries, they are going to support the Democrat incumbents that are going to run. And this really comes at a time when the party is addressing how are they effectively going to fight the Trump administration. This is a big issue that the party has to address on how they're going to fight back against Trump in his second term. That's a big part of why the Democrat polling shows that they are the least popular they've been in like 2 or 3 decades. You see polling anywhere from 21 to 29% for the Democrat Party approval rating. And David Hogg believes that they need more effective messengers, not people like Chuck Schumer that faced huge opposition and a lot of political backlash when he allowed the GOP to pass their continuing resolution bill to fund the government until October. And here's the reality. Democrats are at the lowest approval rating that they have seen in decades. The party has been ineffective at best in standing up to the Trump administration. Now remember, it was under Democrat leadership that Trump was ushered back into the White House after 4 disastrous years of Democrat control. You know, David Hogg is leaning into the same and similar energy that AOC is leaning into. And we saw what AOC did. She raised $10 million in the first 3 months. So maybe this is the change that the Democrat base is looking for. You know, this is similar to what the Republican Party went through in 2015, 2016, when we ousted a lot of more establishment figures, maybe not at the individual house level. But at the end of the day, we also ousted the Republican establishment. The Bush dynasty. These big political dynasties in the Republican Party were shot dead. And Trump came in, kicked down the door, and took the party hostage. And that's what he did. And now it's his party. And so obviously the Democrats, the tactics that Democrats have used for decades to fight off Republicans, which worked great from, the mid-50s to the mid-90s, it worked great. Even until the late 90s, it worked great. But those same tactics don't work anymore. And so maybe this is, as someone who leans to the right, this is, I'd love it if they stuck with their more establishment candidates, but also there's big political risk here. Because yes, okay, maybe because Democrat primary voters don't control the general election. You have to worry about moderates, independents, low propensity voters. It's a lot more nuanced when you get to a general election there. It is a lot more nuanced. A lot more things. You can't just worry about being more progressive, being younger, not being the establishment candidate. Sometimes being the establishment candidate helps you in a general election. We've seen how that's affected the Republican Party many times in elections. You want to look at really the disastrous 2022 midterms for the Republicans, where we saw places like Nevada still vote for the Democrat. We saw Arizona elected a Democrat. Georgia elected, go back to 2020. Look at this. You saw in Arizona a Democrat elected. You saw 2 Democrats in Georgia elected. You saw a Democrat in Colorado elected. You saw a Democrat in Michigan reelected against more non-establishment candidates. So there can be effects, down ballot, and I shouldn't say down ballot, but there can be effects in a general election if that's the direction the party decides to go. But this is obviously what's happened. The Democrat civil war has begun at this point. You have factions of the party. You have the AOC, Bernie Sanders, David Hogg, wing of the party, and then the more establishment portion of the party, the Chuck Schumer, the Hakeem Jeffries portion of the party, the Nancy Pelosi portion of the party. This is the Jerry Connolly portion of the party. This is where you're seeing the major infighting happening. And it's going to be a huge civil war. We are going to see who wins. Does the more establishment portion of the party prevail? Or does the more populist, the more radical, the change candidate win? Who's going to win? Maybe they win in the primaries. Maybe it doesn't do so good for them in the general elections. We will see, but that's going to wrap things up for today, folks. Let me know your thoughts down below. As always, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you never miss another video from us again in the future, and we will catch you next time, folks.